thought they had it out, then it rebooted. You have to keep tearing it down. Just keeps flaring back up from underneath.
Now there's a new cleaner.
What's left of my house, across the street, and my rentals.
The original jail in Bull had
It's not a good sign.
block building on the right-hand side. It used to be next to Buck Sportsman.
Where is it at?
You know where the jail is?
It's the only cleaner I know is by.
Jiffy.
Yeah, Jiffy.
There's a new one called the Cleaner 2.
Right.
Nice. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abbott,
Present.
Commissioner Selberg,
Present.
Commissioner Buck,
Here.
Commissioner Azarmi,
Here.
Commissioner Walker,
Here.
Commissioner Gabrielson,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
Chairman Fouché. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have some announcements. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete a request to speak form, which is also located on the lobby table next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you would like to speak on, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisles, and we ask that you use caution when using the stairs. There is also a ramp located to the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters that they intend to present at today's meeting, have 17 copies and give them to the staff member at the back of the auditorium. I believe a staff member is raising her hand up there. You can see her. Thank you. If you do not have 17 copies, you may use the table with the overhead camera next to the podium to present your documents. If you want your documentation to go on the record, you must hand them to the clerk after your presentation with the agenda item number clearly marked on the documentation. Members of the public cannot speak to the staff members that are sitting at the tables with microphones during the meeting. If you have questions, please see the staff member located in the back of the auditorium who can meet you in the lobby. Staff member, please raise your hand again. Thank you. All speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make their presentation statements. Everyone, please either turn off all of your cell phones and pagers or place them on the vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a call, please leave the meeting area and go to outside to have your conversation. We also ask the audience to refrain from talking with one another during the presentations and discussions. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony, and then forward a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendation made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Monday, May 2nd, 2016, at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with the exception of any continued items. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the other administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking is allowed from curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, sodas, coffee, etc. is allowed in the auditorium. If there are any other items remaining on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you. Item number 5 on my list here is the election of the chairman and vice chairman. Chairman Fluchet had a medical problem, and unfortunately he has broken leg. He was in the hospital. We wish him well, and I hope that he get well soon. Talking to some of the commissioners, it seems like everybody is in agreement, but we're going to vote on it to table that election for 30 days for the next item, if that's okay. We put it on the discussion.
Mr. Chairman, rather than 30 days, we just put it to the next meeting?
Next meeting, 30 days, yeah. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. We have a motion by Commissioner Bach. We have a second by Commissioner Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Okay, before we start, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Commissioner Abbott for visiting District 5, Fort Mojave and Mojave Valley a couple of weeks ago. He came down there to our district or area and toured the, District 5. And I really want to thank Commissioner Abbott for taking the time to come down and visit us. Thank you.
Very interesting what you're doing down there.
Did Medi buy you lunch?
He bought my lunch.
Good.
Lunch. So go down, see that, and might get your lunch.
There you go.
Thank you, Medi.
Well, thank you. Item number 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
right above that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2016 meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Bach and a second by Commissioner Silberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you for reminding me. So now, item number 1.
Item number 1 is an evaluation of a request for a renewal of a zoning use permit, now a special use permit, on assessor parcel numbers 31025-008E and 008F for a kennel in an AR 5A agricultural residential 5-acre minimum lot size zone in the Long Mountain vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions and with the condition that the renewal will be in effect without an expiration date.
Okay, item number 1, we have no one to speak. Do we have the applicant here? No? Okay, we'll open it up to the commission's discussion, or,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
The request for a non-expiration date, is that standard after they've gone through one cycle? And under these circumstances?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it hasn't historically been the standard, but Halt's come back, I think this is like the 3rd or 4th round with us, and they have, as we follow through and done checking, everyone considers them one of the best rescues out there.
Wow.
And, Mrs. Banker has been very good about keeping up her kennel, keeping up her animals. And so, there really isn't much for us to check on year after year or time after time. And there isn't much for the commission to consider either. discuss this, and the question is why we keep having to come back. She does an exemplary job.
Mr. Chairman, I recognize that, and I think it's fabulous what she's done, but I hate to put ourselves into a box where the next one comes by and maybe doesn't have such a wonderful record, and then we said, well, you did it for one. So I'd maybe extend it to 5 years, but recommend putting some kind of an end date on it.
I visited that several years ago when they first came up, and everything Chris says there, I say amen to. And I went by and looked at it, 2 weeks ago, and it's equally as good. So if we were ever going to do it, I'd certainly be in favor of doing it on this one. I see your point, but I would be in favor of going with this like staff recommends.
Mr. Chairman, I've toured the facility. It is a first-class facility. But to consider Mr. Buck's complaint or concern, a complaint would bring this right back in front of us regardless. So one complaint, I believe it would be back in front of staff and probably back in front of us if there is or not a time limit.
Good point.
Is that correct?
Commissioners, that is correct.
To approve this for a staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Abbott and second by Commissioner Gabrielson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Chairman Azami, members of the commission, good morning. Item number 2 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 337-10-122 from an AR 36A, agricultural residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone to a CRE, commercial recreation / 36-acre minimum lot size zone to allow a horseback riding facility and guest food service in the White Hills vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. Staff recommends approval of standard conditions, and we should note that this item was originally scheduled for the Commission's March 9th, 2016 meeting, but was continued due to a technical advertising error. We'd also like to note that there were several letters in opposition and a petition filed by property owners in Golden Horseshoe Ranchos Unit 2. A petition in opposition, of course.
There were some letters of opposition.
Yes.
I don't believe that those were listed in the commission's.
There's one from a,
Has anybody on the commission received any opposition letter?
Just from last month.
Just last month, okay.
Yeah, nice.
But it's not included in the package today that we have before us, right?
Mr. Chairman, the letter of opposition we got for this particular meeting was sent to us after the commission's books were distributed. It should be in your folder, and it was included in the additional correspondence link. It's from the Homeowners Association and Golden Horseshoe Ranches number 2.
And it's the road.
Gentleman, Jerry Richards.
Do we have the applicant here? Kathy, you want to?
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett-Hicks. This letter of opposition blows my mind, okay? I was not aware of it, and now it's getting disturbing because the item that they're concerned about has nothing to do with my rezone request, so I want to separate these items. This is a rezone request for a horseback riding facility, which would include full-service food for their guests at a later time. I believe in your packet last week I did submit a site plan because we're moving forward with this. The site plan is a very low-use land use. It includes a stable, a corral, bunkhouse for the cowboys, and a future kitchen facility. This is an existing business that currently operates out of Pahrump, is very successful, and the business owner wants to come to Mojave County. The reason he wants to come to Mojave County is because we have beautiful areas, and our economic development strategies specifically target commercial recreation uses like this, particularly in this area next to the national parks. This owner did his homework. We do comply with everything that the county asks for. It's very low use. The petition of opposition from the Homeowners Association is based on an issue that they have in particular with their subdivision. I don't want to focus on it, but I do want to explain to you why it's of little value. They have an existing subdivision that was platted 40 or 50 years ago. Homeowners maintain the roads that are there. They are dirt roads. This was standard throughout the county. There are numerous subdivisions which have this. This particular subdivision is about 6 miles south of this project. This project will generate from 1 to 10 vehicle trips per day across it. It goes right through the middle, Spear Road. They brought it to the attention of the commission because they need to have some sort of outlet for their problem. And their problem is they have rock trucks from the mine up there, which is south of our particular property, which traverses that road with rock, creates a lot of dust, and they have a problem. I did attend a homeowners association hearing with that group, with Supervisor Gene Bishop and our Public Works Director, Steve Latowski, on Saturday, and Commissioner Gabrielson was there as well. It's my opinion, and it is fact, that there are numerous options that they can take to start alleviating that issue. The county and Supervisor Bishop indicated a willingness, and Steve, to work with them to see about alternate routes for the trucks. There are avenues. There's a traffic commission with the county they can go to look at ways of helping to slow down those vehicle trucks. The rock mine themselves, I did a lot of investigation on it, obviously, has offered to supply all the rock to put down on that road, and Steve has indicated that they can do that. Put an oil base on there, it will alleviate the dust. There are lots of avenues that they can and should be taking. They took this route because here I am presenting something that has to go through their lot, so they need to put it on a pedestal, and I don't have a major problem, but I can't wait to see that letter from the homeowners, because I just wonder how they've tied in 1 to 10 vehicle trips per day on a public road, how this is going to adversely affect. Two separate issues. I ask you please approve this. It's the right thing. We're in agreement with the county staff recommendations. We've complied with this type of use in this area. It matches the general plan goals and economic development goals. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, Kathy, you and I
Yeah.
both go back 20 years with Ralph and the
Yeah, when I was
history.
3.
Yeah, yes, when you were 3.
Yeah.
Yes, I make note of that.
Yeah.
I managed
20 or 30
homeowners.
years.
Pardon me?
20 or 30 years, yeah, go ahead.
I manage the homeowner association, and the problem is very real, and it's only through a shirt-tail tangential relationship that it has surfaced in this discussion. And I applaud supervisors' activities, your time on Saturday, Mr. Latowski's time on Saturday. That really was my opposition, or my intention of expressing any opposition at the last meeting, was to encourage that dialogue. And I applaud you for taking care of this huge problem for an entire 541 lots in Section 2. And I also agree with you that it is tangential and shirt-tailing, and with a 6-mile differentiation and only 10 cars, it certainly should not be considered in the same conversation. So I'd like to make that clear. That was my concern then.
Thank you.
You have satisfied that, as well as Mr. Latowski and Supervisor Bishop doing the same, and thank you.
Commissioner
welcome.
Gabrielson? Have any
Mr.
comments?
Chairman, I have a similar comment to what Mr. Buck. I originally had a problem with this, with all the people coming in talking about the dust. But we approve a subdivision, we get something built out there. I don't think we can stop progress from happening from that point on.
True.
Just because of dust or dirt. That's there, it's part of the subdivision, and I think this is a good program that's been presented here. I did have one question for staff. when are we gonna start getting preliminary plot plans? And you said you had one, because we used to seem to get one almost on anything like this. So I think that would be nice to get back included in this commissioner's package. But as far as stop in progress in an area like this, I don't think it's something we should turn down.
Thank you. Did you receive a copy of the commercial site plan?
No, I didn't.
That would have come, and this site plan that I completed is in compliance with the commercial site plan process, so it's much more in-depth than what you would have received from me at the start for a simple plot plan, so.
Comment related to the preliminary plot plans, it seems as that's something we used to always get, and we don't seem to get that anymore.
Kathy, have
Yeah.
you submitted that to the staff,
Yeah, and I gave it in email format, I would guess.
Commissioners, we sent that email after the electronic book was received, and we sent that email to you as well, by email.
Is there anything we can do to make sure that, we get all the information in a timely manner instead of just getting it in pieces?
No.
Because most of us, including myself, I work normally on the weekend before the commission meeting because, during the Monday, Tuesday, schedules are hectic. Is it possible to have some sort of a policy that we would be able to receive everything by Friday before the meeting?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we can certainly send you anything we have by Friday of the meeting. The map or the plan that the applicant is talking about is in the additional correspondence. And we can send you what we have on Friday afternoon. We can't really stop until the hearing is over with. We really can't stop people from bringing us and you more information. They can present new information right here at this meeting. That's the purpose of the public hearing. We can, give you what we've got on Friday afternoon, and then, typically we do send something on Tuesday afternoon. We'll send send it all again on Tuesday afternoon if we've gotten anything more.
Thank you.
We can ask.
Mr. Chairman, Chris, I might be able to help you. You're in a catch-22, and
Absolutely.
we've discussed this. And one enhancement that I think would help is and I appreciate getting the emails, but we then have to check the email. And if you don't do it till Sunday, or you don't do it till Monday, or whenever, you may miss that. But if we could have a copy of those additional items put in the folders, then even as we shuffle around here, we'd have it to be able to read it. This letter that you see what I'm saying? Email
Yeah.
it is great. That satisfies the immediacy in getting the word out. But if we could have a backup copy in our folders, then that solves the whole thing. And
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I want to apologize. You should have backup copies in your folders. And I'm looking today, you don't. So that is our omission. I want to apologize. I also want to note that on the petition, and this is my fault, I apologize to both Chris and the commission. The petition is on something else. But I told Chris, oh yeah, you have a petition, it's on another item. So I apologize for that too.
Oh,
That
good.
was my error.
Glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is, however, still the letter from the homeowners association,
Okay.
from Golden Shores Ranches
Thank you.
Unit 2.
Commissioner Gabrielson?
Yeah, I was up there at the meeting, and the thing I have understood is when Kathy was in front of us several months ago, there was a project down in the mountains, in the middle of the valley, in the middle of nowhere, and it was the exact same thing about dust that was going to go up over 12,000 elevation and drop right down on them too. I don't remember if you guys remember any of that, the pedal bike, dirt bike thing. Now, it is a tail skirt for the road. The projects that do come up there, especially when it comes to new business and everyone's screaming economic growth, a new source of possible revenue, a new look for exposure for property sales and marketing, it's all good at the land. I mean, it's good for our county. It's good for everywhere. I do agree that they do have a dust problem on the public road. However, that needs to be a total different thing addressed by the trucks, and as Gene Bishop and Lukowski we were talking about, and everyone was up there talking about, But I absolutely think that projects like this, when they're put in the middle where they're supposed to be and they're suited for it, bring nothing but good things into the county and the areas.
Good,
Thank
thank you. It seems like everybody's in agreement. Any other, thank you, Kathy. Any other discussion? We have no other speakers. Ready to get motion?
I'll make a motion to accept as staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gabrielson and a comment second by Mr. Buck. Walker. But we go with Mr. Buck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3A.
Item 3A is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 317-60-028 from an AR 36A agricultural residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone to a CRE 36A commercial recreation / 36-acre minimum lot size zone to allow a shooting range, shooting targets from a helicopter, and recreational activities in the White Hills vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. And the long-range sniper range would have shots from the south toward the north, a 24 by 24 helipad, the helicopter target ranges, of course, and a 25-acre off-road track. And the Mojave County General Plan designates this area as a rural development area. The department made a distinction between the helicopter shooting range and the other activities, as the impacts to nearby properties could differ. At the end of the staff recommendation, the department has given a recommendation for the rezone and given options for either approving or denying the helicopter shooting range. So there's definitely a distinction between the helicopter shooting range and the rest of it. And we do recommend the rezone for everything except the helicopter shooting range with standard conditions. And should the commission decide to approve the use of weapons for target practice from aircraft, including helicopters, the following conditions should apply. An air carrier certificate shall be obtained from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and the applicant/operator shall be in compliance with all requirements and conditions of the certificate. The applicant/operator shall comply with any requirements or conditions of the Arizona Department of Transportation and the Mojave County Sheriff's Department. And we did receive a letter from the Mojave County Sheriff that they oppose this, and ADOT also stated that they opposed it as well. And should the commission decide not to approve the use of weapons for target practice from aircraft, including helicopters, the following conditions should apply. No person is permitted by this approval to fire any weapon from any aircraft upon the subject property. And that's it for that one.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant here? You want to address the commission? Please state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Solomon Loop, and I am one of the acting partners with Vertical Aviation and working in conjunction with Last Stop. My address is, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia right now. However, I'm a longtime Boulder City resident there, 426 Ash Street, Boulder City, Nevada, 89005. And I'm here to answer any questions from the commission.
Do you have any comments about, have you had the opportunity to review the opposition letters, or have you talked to the Mojave County Sheriff?
I have not. I have put in an inquisition as to a contact person with the Mojave County Sheriff's Department, and we have not gotten much of a response from them so far. I haven't seen the opposition letters yet, but I'd love to get a chance to review them before I
Thank you.
before I address them.
Well, you're going to hear about it. I guess there are a couple of them here.
All right, I'm ready. Let me
Okay,
have it.
any question from the commission?
So if you're with Last Stop, okay, Last Stop already has all that stuff in place, all their shooting ranges with the major incidents that happened there?
I'm familiar.
Okay. What has made you guys decide to move from where you're at now? Is it just an expansion? Is it another site? Is it just a whole new, outlook on it? I mean, what is the goal of putting it over here in a more residential area where it actually is, coming into where people, and it's closer to the people and the houses versus what you have right off the highway now?
Obviously, because of the nature of a shooting from an aircraft, the vicinity of the road and the facilities that are currently at Last Stop aren't going to accommodate that. So the application to change the zoning is for safety of the general public, obviously, having it in a more remote area. I understand that there is residential zoning in the area. The large plot of land, the 110 acres, in a more isolated area is mostly for safety and for accommodating
Okay, let
our
me,
activity.
you just said from shooting from the aircraft, so you're gonna take people who don't shoot machine guns or guns and put them in an aircraft, and now you're gonna shoot from the aircraft down into targets?
That's the idea, yes.
Wow.
We have a quite extensive limiting safety procedures in place so that the general public is not going to be walking around or have access to discharging firearms into any area except for our target zone, which is a fenced, protected, not accessible except to.
Hey,
Go ahead. I'm
what kind
sorry.
of fencing? Are you gonna put a 10-foot wall like Trump so that teenagers and people that are curious, because that's where you're at. You're in a land where people are gonna come and kids are gonna climb. They're gonna be curious what's inside those walls, what's behind there.
There-
Strategic safety, I guess, when I look at strategic safety plans, especially now when you're talking from shooting, people who don't shoot from the air, strategic safety goes back to, you can't control it on the ground.
There is a range clearing procedure that we have in place as part of our standard operating procedures where before any discharge of any weapons, we're going to be clearing the range each and every time, making sure that we don't have people, for example, teenagers climbing the fences, and or even property, somebody's wildlife or wild cows, horses, somebody's livestock has wandered into the area. There's going to be safety procedures for that.
How are you going to background each person that you take up there to make sure that they aren't underlying
Criminals.
criminals, sociopathic people, been in and out of homes? You can't do that. I mean, how are you going to do a background check? Because
We're going to follow the same procedures that all ranges fire, and we have, again, range people just like you would at any firing range, ensuring that there isn't the ability of the general public to endanger both the pilots, the people on, that are the range safety, and there's a range safety officer with each and every shooter. They're not out on their own, for sure. And then, again, it's the idea behind the rezoning is getting them to an area where they're not endangering the general public, so.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Abbott?
Being a member of NRA, I'm against putting regulations on any of these kind of things to a point. But you're talking about AR-36 property that this is going to be within. Right next door to that, it's going to remain AR-36. What if a guy comes in there with horses and cattle and it's open range? How are you going to protect from that kind of a situation? It seems like it would be almost impossible for you to set up protection for that.
The fencing material would generally protect the livestock of the open range issue that you're talking about. Again, we are prepared and are very open to working with both the residents that are there and future development to make sure that we can kind of all cohabitate within this space.
What kind of fencing are you putting in there?
We haven't decided exactly yet. The original thought was the PVC-style fences, mostly as an alert area. However, I can already see the expressed concerns of making sure it's a secured area is obviously going to be an issue. So we would probably have to evaluate something that would meet the commission's approval and would work well with all the residents, ensuring that nobody's able to get into the shooting area.
The present facility that you're involved with, how do you control that now?
It's got a chain link fence. I believe it's a 8-foot or 10-foot high chain link fence that surrounds the facility.
That don't keep the helicopter within the area though, does it?
It doesn't, however, again, with just like at any shooting range, the direction of fire and the control of when people do have live weapons and when they don't, and also the direction of shooting, the direction of fire is critical for safety in any kind of range or any shooting facility.
I have a question. How many other facilities are there like this that let you shoot out of a helicopter in the Southwest? I mean,
There's down in Texas, there's a group that does it. They're mostly doing hunting for nuisance animals that you can go and use. I set this same style up at Front Sight, which is in Pahrump, Nevada. We're not working with that particular group right now, but we did it very successwould, trouble-free for quite a while.
how many acres? How many acres is that one on?
Oh, I wouldn't want to guess on there. I think they're 1,000 acres or so for their particular facility. However, the shooting range that we were actually using for the aerial gunning was only 40 acres. So it was a small portion of their entire facility.
But it
But
is
they have-
40 acre in the middle of the 1,000 acre?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's my concern, is I just don't know if this 110 acres is large enough. I mean, I don't mind the shooting from the helicopter. I mean, I'm, member of the NRA, and I do a lot of shooting myself, but I just don't know if 110 acres is a big enough area to turn a helicopter loose.
I guess the biggest question is, how you're going to contain those bullets not flying out of the 36 acres.
Of course.
When especially, you have moving, and again, I don't know if those weapons are fixed in place or is it, in the hand of people, and one little move can shoot it like, outside of the 36 acre. But Commissioner Buck, you have a question?
I'm mostly concerned when the sheriff comes in and says it's an unsafe condition, and I'm aware that you're not aware of that letter, but my motion is going to be, after the public input, to table this until you have an opportunity to talk to the sheriff department. Without their blessing,
And people.
I think you're far from being in the approval area, but you need to see that information.
Of course. And if you don't mind, one of our range experts is here that might be able to answer a lot of the questions that the commission has for safety.
Absolutely.
I'll let him introduce himself and,
Please introduce yourself and your address, please, for the record.
My name is Paul Parrott, and I live at 1306 Bellarosa Drive in St. George, Utah. And based on the statement that Mr. Buck just made, the information that I had might be immaterial at this point. I think that getting the Sheriff's Department out there and getting an approval from them would probably go a long ways in doing it. I specialize in consulting with vertical aviation based on firearms safety, ballistics, the trajectory of things, so that we can make sure that they keep it super safe. And I had an opportunity actually with Solomon when we set up those things out in Pahrump at Front Sight to do it out there as well. So we were able to successfully set it up, comply with their concerns and issues. So I feel confident we can do that here based on the fact that you are from an elevated platform in a helicopter. All of the trajectory, of the projectiles is going down into the ground, down into the well within a smaller area of this property that's in question. I think we can demonstrate that in a simulated way for the Sheriff's Department and any others who might want to see where a bullet's going to go. It's very controlled within a helicopter. The weapons are mounted. They are controlled directly by a range officer. So a person, to address your issue, a person that might be wacko, psychopath, can be stopped and shut down very quickly because they don't have primary control. They're locked into the helicopter, the weapon's locked onto them, and sitting right next to them in this kind of a fashion as a range officer, they can just stop the weapon and be done. The weapon's very limited in where it can go. If you consider a port about this big, that's the limitation of the weapon. So they can't pull it back in, get it to discharge inside of a helicopter, or get it elevated and shoot it at a distance that...
What is the weapon that you're using, what is the range of it in terms of?
Right.
What is the range of the weapon you're using? Is it possible to cross the 36 acres?
The weapons that are being used, it is possible
Right.
to cross the 36 acres, just like it is with any weapon on any range.
Right, but the argument you had about, the other site, you had 1,000 acres, and you have 40 acre in the heart of it, and so you do have a buffer area around it. Here, it is 36 acres, and I believe that's one of the main reasons that maybe the Mojave County Sheriff is concerned. And I don't have much of a knowledge about it, although I believe in the Second Amendment, but yet, if the bullet can fly outside of the 36 acre, I have problem with that.
I can understand that, and I think we can demonstrate first for the Sheriff's Department and then potentially for you guys
Okay.
how we intend to contain that, because obviously on almost every range you'll ever be on, the weapons that you shoot on them have the capacity to go well beyond what the range distance is. It's how you build the backstops and how you limit the weapons usage that prevent it.
Thank you.
Just when they come back, I would really like to see maybe, like you're going to show, a filmed or a pictures of these helicopters, how they're mounted, all that kind of stuff that you would like us to see so that we can, I would like to see that information. I would like to be able to visualize this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We
I
could
appreciate that.
certainly do
Thank you. We have some speakers.
I have a question,
Sorry, go ahead.
Chairman,
Commissioner Abbott.
or either one of you gentlemen. You say you have one of these same things you're wanting to build out here in Pahrump.
Yes, sir.
Why do you need another one that's pretty close, flying a helicopter?
Well, to
You
be,
need to expand the business for helicopters. I'm not against a shooting range, but the shooting from the helicopter leaves me kind of uncomfortable.
sure.
So why is there a need for one of these in Mojave County that you can't fill in Pahrump?
Very fair question, and to be clear, we don't own and are no longer part of, we were a concession vendor. We do not own, nor were we part of, as anything more than a concessionaire, the stuff that went out on Pahrump. We came out and helped them set that up so that they could do it safely. They are not currently doing that just because it's so remote that they have a hard time drawing individuals out there for that purpose. So it was an initiative that was started, ran successfully for several years, but not financially successfully in their opinion because they just couldn't get the traffic to come out. So in answer to your question, having it in an area that's much more accessible by tourism is one of the reasons that we're looking at this area.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for them as well.
Senator Silbert?
Did you say that you have an existing one that's close to this facility, that's closer to the highway? Or this would be a brand-new facility? This would be your first facility?
There is an existing shooting range at this facility now. This acreage in question is just out another section or so of land away from it where it would make an appropriate impact area for shooting for a helicopter.
But you don't have any approval from the county to shoot from a helicopter at that location as yet, correct?
Correct. No,
Okay.
that's what we're
Thank you.
here exploring. So we
Question?
wouldn't do that without approval.
Commissioner Kelly?
So once airborne, are there any highways in range?
There's not. Once airborne, between, I don't know if the photo that you guys had up before doesn't show it clearly, but the highway is west of the shooting range that exists right now.
That is out of range.
Excuse me?
And it is out of range?
Just one section?
Yes, and from there you fly basically, it's pretty well north.
Yeah.
From there, which keeps you over no additional residential areas or anything like that. It's flying straight out to this next piece of property. As the helicopter flies, so to speak, it flies over nothing else but desert to get there. It's very close. It's about a 30-second, 45-second flight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. If there is no question, we have some people that they like to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Kaufman?
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Kaufman, 6615 East Flagmine Road. I have a bunch of questions that the two gentlemen might be able to answer. right now, I'm concerned about the helicopter and the inexperience of people that would be behind the trigger of the actual weapon being used. Can I ask my questions and maybe?
Go ahead and address your questions.
Okay. What caliber ammunition will be shot from the aircraft?
No, just go ahead.
Just ask my questions?
ask your
Okay, and
questions.
I'm curious if they're rifle rounds, if they're handgun rounds. What altitude would the helicopter be at compared to when they're going to be firing? What angle the ammunition will be shot from the aircraft? Is it coming in at a 45? Is it coming in at a 90? Because there's a skip factor. And like a 30 caliber round, it could actually skip.
So basically, your
1.5
concern is
miles.
the same thing that I said, that you want to make sure that the bullet doesn't fly outside of the property. Is that correct?
Yeah, I want to make sure that they have a way to contain the ammunition on their property with appropriate backstops, not 10-foot backstops, not 20-foot backstops. It'd be much better if there was like a mountain range or something right there that they could shoot at for protection. It's 110 acres, and it made me think of 7 Mile today. They're like 700 acres, but they have that awesome backstop. Are they certified through the government as an air-to-ground range? Okay, aside from all the questions, one of my concerns is there was an incident, and I don't really want to drag that into this, but if there is another incident, it could be a malfunction in the aircraft, and that happens. Or that could happen. And it's not within a fire district. So are there going to be additional measures that the county would consider imposing, like so much water storage in case there's an inadvertent fire that could have been triggered by an errant round? What kind of targets are being used? Are they using steel targets? Are they using reactive targets? Are they using targets that might use tannerite that go boom? Because from a helicopter, it's going to be hard to hear plink to know if you actually hit something. So I'm curious what's being used and what is going to be on the ground for additional safety. Are there going to be age limits? There are ranges in Arizona that do have stuff similar to this, but it is only trained people, like a SEALs team. That's who's going to be up in the helicopter, not an 18-year-old or a 65-year-old or a 12-year-old. It's somebody experienced. And so I'm concerned about that. And on top of, I believe in property rights. I believe anybody should be able to do what they want to do with their property. Going from an AR zoning to a commercial recreational, I've seen at least one letter back against it, and it was the guy that lives right next, just due east of where they're proposing to put the track in. So I could sense that he probably has dust control or concerns and sounds, and understanding nobody lives out there now, they bought those properties with the intent of using them the way that they were zoned. So I don't want to see people losing their right to use their property the way they had intended. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Gerald Cash or Clark? I apologize, your last name. Is that Cash?
Well, I love Cash, but
That's all.
it's actually Clark.
Clark, okay.
Right, sorry. Mr. Chairman, and the council people here, listen, I'm representing a JDI Realty of Chicago. They're presently owners of the adjacent property, which is parcel number 317601028. They obtained this property in 2011 from a home building company that had already pre-plotted all of this property for some 200, 300, 900 home sites of 6,000 square feet. Now, all of that, obviously, their feeling is that they, with this parcel, are anticipating in the future, as the future arrives, to have that residential as it was planned. Setting that all aside, nobody has mentioned noise. And as a Tempeite here, I want to tell, I mean, not Tempe now, but Havasu. I'm a native of Tempe, but now live in Havasu. You can go up in any place in the east side of Havasu, and the people go out in the hills there and start shooting. And the noise is unbelievable. And the people that all live up there are just absolutely irritated by the whole thing. And that isn't all. I live within a half a mile of the Lake Havasu Hospital, and even though the helicopter has an approach from the opposite side, the noise is there constantly. So nobody has mentioned noise. And if you had any residential zone around, the noise would be terrible. But setting that aside, anything of this nature, I have nothing against the idea, but it ought to be 10 miles from any place. And the one he suggested in Nevada, it's in 1,000 acres, and he had 40 acres in the middle of the 1,000. I'd bless that right away. But to have this next to a property, and if you look at the overall map, it's just one section away from, the highway area, and this adjacent property, which is intended to be residential.
Thank you.
So if there's any questions, be happy to answer them, but this owner is very concerned about their value and future use of that property.
Thank you. Any questions for you? Okay, thank you. Kathy? Please state your name and your address.
Good morning again, Kathy Tackett Hicks. I actually own some property to the south of this. It's a few miles away, but it does bring me into this discussion. In addition, when this was first brought out, I spoke with the Mardians, who have a huge 20,000 acre project that's just a mile and a half or two to the northeast of this. There's concern. I don't work on the roads project, but just a mile and a half to the south is their huge project. It sounds like they have a lot more work to do. I'm a gun advocate, NRA. I've built a gun range before. I'm super familiar. What concerns me personally about this is that there are no earthen berms, mountains, anything to block it. The backstop is a huge issue. I was informed that another facility like this was 1,800 acres. And I think that's the crux of this whole thing. This parcel cannot support this. From the outside, it appears almost reckless in the middle of residential stuff. And like the other gentleman, I mean, good for you if it's located in the right place and you have people that want to do it and you can provide the backstops. I think it's awesome. It's very disconcerting, though, in this location. And if I lived next to that, I would be horrified, frankly. So I'm happy that you're going to look at it again, and maybe if I find out more, I would be there too. But this is a flat piece of land from the sky. There's also the Triangle Air Park, which is just, I mean, it's just to the west of that as well. I mean, there's just lots of things that it doesn't seem like the perfect fit for land. So I just wanted to express that.
Thank you. Any questions? I personally think that, 36 acres is too small for any project like this. Even 1,000 acres being in the middle, I'm 40 acres there. As long as, there's one mistake, one shake of hand can really, the bullet can fly outside of the area. So I don't know what kind of meeting they can have with the Mojave County Sheriff and what kind of meeting they can have with public to change that, because the land is 36 acres regardless. In my opinion, it is not a doable project at this time, but I leave it up to the commission to.
Mr. Chairman, along that line, I was going to just suggest to send it back to have them meet with the county sheriffs, but in light of the input and the discussion, I'd go ahead and recommend not approving the recommendation as presented.
Motion for the denial. Then.
Motion for denial.
Yes, and,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. I would just like to also see, which Ms. Amanda Kaufman had brought up, is if, they're going to put this together and do a presentation to us to I would like to see the emergency medical and backups and where that's all gonna come from.
But I guess the
Yeah.
point is that the size of the project is too small for, regardless, what kind of video you're
agree.
going to see, so.
And
So
the-
we have a motion right now for denial. Do we have a second?
I'll second that,
Okay.
yes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bach, and we have a second by Commissioner Gordon.
Mr. Chairman, staff would like to correct the record on one point. The property is 110 acres in total.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman.
And for part of the discussion, the reason for the motion is to go back and meet with the sheriff and go through all the exercise of making this, to try to make it fit, is costly, and I'm trying to see if there's a consensus now to save them the time.
So the motion is actually for the extension of time, so they can go back and do that?
No, it's for a denial of it, to cut to the chase.
And like I seconded, I would agree, just given the comment and the location amongst all this residential property, proximity to the highway, all the things discussed, not to mention the abundance of open private property throughout Mojave County that could potentially be a better fit for this. Not against it by any means, but the location just doesn't seem like a good fit. And I agree with Mr. Buck that I don't think chasing this down the line is going to get us anywhere.
So basically, what we have, we already got to the motion for the denial, and we had a second, we already record that. All in favor for the denial?
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We have one opposed. Did you like that? Commissioner Walker opposed. Okay. Motion carries. Item 3B.
3B is similar. It's an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessors parcel number 317-60-028 to allow helipads and related activities in a proposed CRE/36A commercial recreation/36 acre minimum lot size zone in the White Hills vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. And staff has an amendment to item number 1 and 6. Number 1 should state, this special use permit is to allow a 24 by 24 helipad in a CRE 36 acre commercial recreation/36 acre minimum lot size zone. And then staff recommends deleting number 6. And other than that, staff recommends the approval for the special use permit.
Thank you. Does the applicant wants to address the commission?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, this item is part and parcel with item number 3.
I understand that, but
Okay.
since they already signed up for it.
We are still here, again, Solomon Loop, 426 Ash Street, Boulder City, Nevada. It is part and parcel with it. This facility still could be useful to us if the heliport is approved. We do have the last stop heliport already approved. However, this would allow the company to be a little bit more flexible. It is extremely close. So I'm still here to answer any questions for you guys. even
Well, I
if
guess
we-
the commission's recommendations for you to get with Mojave County Sheriff.
Okay.
And maybe public, and, overcome their objections and concerns, and you heard all the valid concerns that is going on.
I absolutely understand.
And then, you
Of
you
course.
can bring it back again, I believe.
Yeah, again, if we could get a chance to at least talk with the Mojave County Sheriff's Department and come back and address you guys again about this.
You can get with the staff, I'm sure that they would be able to arrange that.
Fantastic, thank you.
Any questions from the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Those who signed up for this item, do you need to address the commission? Okay, thank you. Kathy? All right. Commission?
So I have one question. The helipad would still be benefit to the property even if they can't shoot from the helicopter, correct?
Chris, could you answer that?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, staff wants to note that should the Board of Supervisors follow through with the Commission's recommendation for denial, these items cannot be brought back the way they are presented to you now, unless they're substantially different. They cannot be brought back before the Commission and Board for a year.
So 3B cannot be a standalone, is that what you're saying?
Now, 3B can be a standalone, but if the commission and if the board follows the commission recommendation on either, on 3A, for a denial, or if 3B is recommended for denial as well, and the board follows through, these items cannot be brought back in their present form for 1 year.
So we need to go back and change the motion of 3A.
So, Commissioner Walker, what is your
Well, my concern was if the helipad would still be of benefit to him without shooting, and he nodded his head, yes, it would be.
Okay.
So I think we really need to still consider, looks like they will have a standalone shooting range that's not from the helicopters also out there. I don't know if they'll be flying customers out or,
However they use it is immaterial, except for
they can't shoot from
they
it.
can't shoot from it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So, is that something that the commission can consider? Discussion?
I think a helipad actually is beneficial in different ways, because the remote area, if they're not opposed to if an evac, let's say you had an ambulance has pickup thing, I think it, if they would open that up and say, you know what, the people can use it, here, it's a double thing. I think an extra helipad up there is an excellent idea.
I think everybody's concern was, being in the air and shooting from the
Yes.
air to go outside of the property. So, Commissioner Gordon, I guess you're ready to say something?
Well, I guess the question for staff, we denied the rezone to commercial. Is a helipad even an approved use in the AR 36A zone?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, a helipad is not a permitted use in the AR zone. However, we have section 37A that allows the board or the commission and the board to approve aviation uses, aircraft landing areas, in any zone where they would be beneficial to the county.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 3B.
You want to listen to him, Bruce?
Any questions? I'm just here to answer any
Oh,
questions.
okay.
you guys.
To go ahead and approve, follow staff recommendations and approve item 3B.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for staff.
Wait a minute, if there's a motion on the floor needing to be seconded or not seconded
Yeah.
before discussion.
We have a motion to approve 3B per staff recommendation. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Buck and a second by Commissioner Walker. Discussion now, please.
Well, I think we're going a little fast getting to that, because my question is very important. We have a letter here from Sheriff McCabe that's attached to 3B that says, "I do not believe the proposed location provides a level of safety to the surrounding property of those who may occupy it." Now, is he saying 3B and 3A? The letter is attached, which tells me he is making his comment relative to 3B also.
It's one letter.
I'm not going to go against what the sheriff says.
Is it? I
It's the
think
same
there's only
letter.
one letter, though.
Pardon?
I think it's one letter, assuming that, the 3A, 3B both. There is no specification on,
Well, it's attached to 3B.
I know, but if you look at the 3A, you have the same letter.
I know,
Yeah, okay.
to both of them. That's
All right.
what I'm saying.
Good point.
Any further discussion?
Chris has a question.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, in response to Mr. Abbott's question, we attached the letter as part of the project, but I was the one that actually asked the sheriff the question. And I asked him a very narrow question. Could he please respond to a project where firearms, there was actually use of firearms, and those firearms were fired out of a helicopter. Now, and so the question was very, very narrow. If you remove the firearms from the helicopter, I'm not sure his comments apply.
I kind of believe, that it doesn't apply to 3B. But I'd rather see us, instead of approve it, go back and get clarification information on it from the sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw the motion on that basis. I think it's a good point to reconsider.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with Commissioner Buck. I'm not against the helipad, but this completely changes the scope of what's being talked about here. So I would be in favor of, continuing that so that they could have discussion with sheriff, neighbors, and come back to what exactly the helipad use is on that site and the precise location.
So you're retrieving your...
Yeah, so reword the motion then to continue this matter for 30 days, to offer the opportunity to get input from the sheriff's department as to this installation of the heliport.
Commissioner Walker, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'll
Second.
second that.
Okay, so we have a second motion now by Commissioner Buck and second by Commissioner Walker for 30 days extension of time for the applicant to meet with Mojave County Sheriff and get an opinion, and hopefully also work with the neighbors or something. Okay, any other further discussion?
Yeah, I was just curious. They did talk about a shooting range at ground level. That's not possible in this zone, is that correct? If it stays residential, they can't have any shooting range at all, correct?
Chris? I think it's your helipad.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, without the CRE zoning, with the continuance of the AR zoning is a more accurate statement, they cannot have the shooting range. There's also like an ATV track of some sort proposed in the southeast corner of the property. That would also
But they can change the application for the next meeting to be CRE plus a helipad, right? For the shooting range, if they decide to pursue that, right?
Just bring back just the shooting range and just the
helipad.
track. That is, yes.
Okay.
They can bring that
Good,
back.
thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we move to item 4.
Item number 4 is an evaluation of a request for an extension of time for a zoning use permit, now a special use permit, an amendment to Board of Supervisor Resolution Number 2015-007 on Assessors Parcel Numbers number 31021-077 to allow 2 off-premise signs in a C2H 3A Highway Commercial 3-acre minimum lot size zone in the Kingman vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. Staff recommends approval with the conditions that they would be in compliance with the conditions of Board of Supervisors Resolution Number 2015-007, and with the amendment to condition number 1, which states the special use permit is for the purpose of 2 off-premise signs and activities related thereto. And also that the extension of time will be in effect until May 2nd, 2017. Thank you.
Applicants here? We have applicant? No? We have one person, Brad Sorbier? Hey, I did it right. Could you state your name and your address, please?
Sure, my name is Brad Sauerbier. Address is 1011 West Air Libre, Phoenix, Arizona, 85023. So, good morning, everybody. I'm glad to hear the staff has recommended approval of this. It does meet existing codes in the county. There's very few signs in this area. In fact, I think the nearest sign's about a mile away. So it's a good location for motels and fast food restaurants to advertise coming into Kingman from the north on Highway 66. It's also good for tourism along the 66 going out towards Peach Springs, And I think in general it makes sense. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any further discussion by the commission? If not, please state your motion.
I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendations.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Silberg and a second by Commissioner Gabrielson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5A.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Zarmi, members of the commission. Item number 5A is an evaluation of the request for an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan for change in the land use from rural development area, which is RDA, to a land use designation of alternative energy. And if the commission remembers, back in February's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission reviewed the similar project, which was a request for an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan, changing again from rural development area to alternative energy land use to allow for the development of a solar photovoltaic generating facility. It was on 36 acres and totaling, 36 parcels, totaling 1,546 acres. During that meeting at the commission's level, the applicants informed the commission that they were going to come back with 4 additional parcels and that they wanted to move the project kind of south on the 4 parcels. And that's why we're here today. And bringing the commission up to speed of what's gone on with this is the Greyhawk, who's the applicant, took the application to the Board of Supervisors that the commission recommended approval on the March 7th. And at that meeting, the Board of Supervisors, representatives from Valley Vista came out and expressed concerns. And so the board actually continued the item until the next meeting to allow times for the applicant to meet with Valley Vista representatives. And so they held a community meeting at their community center. And the purpose was to present the project to the residents of Valley Vista, as well as answer questions that the residents had pertaining to night sky impacts or potential environmental impacts. Approximately 50 people did attend the meeting, and the majority of the concerns were resolved at that meeting. And Torch Clean Energy, they're the parent company of Greyhawk, is here today to answer questions, as well as they've offered to present to the commission the same presentation or information that was presented at the Valley Vista meeting. But then for today's review, though, we are reviewing the 4 parcels, which is APN number 313-75039 and through 313-75042. And these 4 parcels total 156 acres, and which will push the ultimate project site to 1,702 acres. However, the project site where the solar array will be located will remain the same size of 750 acres. And as required by the Mojave County zoning ordinance, Greyhawk did conduct another public outreach meeting that was held at the Ramada Inn, and actually no people were in attendance at that meeting. So after review of this proposed application and what they have submitted to the Mojave County, staff is recommending approval of the project subject to attached condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant here? I believe you have some presentation for us too. Is the commission open to a presentation by the applicant? But please state your name and your address.
My name's Scott Leach. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I work for Greyhawk Solar. I apologize, I didn't print out enough copies for everyone, but...
we can share.
So we have to fight over them as you put them on the ledge
Yeah,
here?
we can share.
Okay.
I'll throw it up on the screen, too.
Okay.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I have a question for Mr. Barton.
Yes, Commissioner Abbott.
The reference you made that the supervisors had with the 50 people at Valley Vista, that was another project, right?
No, that was actually this application, but that was for the original one. When they came before the commission in February's meeting
Right.
for the 1,500 acres, and what the board concern was they wanted just them the opportunity to speak with the community of Valley Vista. What has happened in today's meeting is they have requested the 4 southerly parcels, and for an amendment as well. And they're technically going to move their project southward a little bit, and which is actually further away from Valley Vista.
Moving more property into that same project.
Correct.
Thank you.
At least maybe mine. Look on your bill. Sure.
So, are you ready? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to give the presentation, or if we want to, if there are any questions, I can address those before this starts.
Before you start, I have a question. Oh, sorry. Is this going to be on a leased land, or is that going to be you own the property?
It's going to be purchased land.
Purchased land.
Yes.
And then I know that there's it's a wonderful idea to have alternative energy and all that. But one thing I've never seen to any of these projects is the contingency for after the technology expires. What happens to all these if it's going to be obsolete? They're going to be like a junkyard full of concrete and material. So is there any contingency for final cleanup after 10, 15, 20, 25 years?
So I guess to maybe address a couple of those points, I think the first point is that it's not going to be obsolete, like in the same way that your solar calculator from high school still works. Solar panels will still work 40 years from now. So we anticipate this to be a 35 to 40-year lifespan. The project actually has very little concrete. The only concrete that will be used will be on small pads.
Foundations of those?
The vast majority of the project will use a driven pile system, and those can just be pulled out of the ground. And so I think that the fundamental important aspect of that removal side of it is that there's no massive concrete system that's deployed out there that essentially is useless afterwards. All of the material that's used essentially is steel and copper, and obviously all of that has scrap value associated with it. And so the next kind of big item in that process are the panels themselves, and the manufacturers of those panels actually have a take-back program when you buy them.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Zarmi, if I could add, is through the site plan review process, at that point in time, there would also be conditions stipulated that if the project is to close and cease operation, that they would have to return the site to the original character.
Great, thank you.
Before he starts, is this the one that everyone's in chaos where is a renewable surcharge through Unisource? Does that have anything to do with the Unisource connection and all that?
And if I can respond to that, Commissioner Gabrielson, the Unisource project is a different one. They do have a power purchase agreement with Unisource, but they're kind of their own project and they're selling the energy.
Just wanted to make sure that that wasn't the one, because I know there's several things going on, like, hold it, is this the one that feeds back? No, I know there's, so, okay, we're good.
Yeah. And just maybe to add on to that point, while this is a big project, we have no ability to actually shape the policies and the surcharges that UNS actually places on all of its customers. So
Okay.
we think we're important, but we're not that important. So maybe going through this presentation, we gave this presentation to approximately 50 people at the Valley Vista community. It was in response to the request by the Board of Supervisors to have a further conversation to address any concerns. And what you'll see in this presentation is it's a very basic overview of what a solar project is, and we can go through it really quickly, but we delivered it on March 15th is when that presentation was given, so if you go to the next slide. A lot of this information everyone here is already aware of. We're planning a 70-megawatt solar project. It will provide energy for about 14,000 homes. The energy is being sold to UNS Electric. I think the important aspect of this map is the closest point of the project is around 2.7 miles away from the Valley Vista community. If you go to the next one, one back. Very basic kind of solar energy 101. Essentially, the project has no moving parts, no air emissions. to produce electricity. It will track to follow the sun, so it will move, but there's no like gears or there's no turbines associated with the generation of solar energy. The sun's energy excites electrons on one side of the panel. They go to the other side, and that's how electricity is created. All that's gathered into a collection system and then ultimately put onto the electrical grid. This is a kind of a picture to put in perspective what the project looks like. This technology will only be about 4 feet off of the ground when it's flat, but because it will track east to west, there will be points in the morning and in the evening when the panels, the highest point will be closer to 5.5 to 6 feet tall, as demonstrated on this picture. I think the point that we were making to the folks at Valley Vista is that the line of sight from where they are located to where the project is, it will be almost impossible to actually see the project. It will actually look more like a mirage of a lake from their vantage point. And again, you can stay on this slide, but it's a very basic system, driven piles with a collection system and dirt roads, and really once the project is operational, limited, if no, traffic going to the site because it is operated remotely. This is an image of the design right now. I think there was a little bit of concern that what we were trying to permit was what's called a concentrating solar project. That is a fundamentally different technology. The only thing that it has in common is the word solar. A CSP project is a steam-driven technology where you basically concentrate the sun's energy and boil water and produce electricity that way. It is notorious in southern Arizona for a giant tower that's located near Gila Bend. Again, that's not what we're proposing to build here in Mojave County, and that was a piece of education that we did with the Valley Vista folks. This is, I think, a very important picture that we showed, and we talked a lot to the folks at Valley Vista about. This is our project in southern Arizona, the Red Horse 2 project. It's taken from about 3 miles away at a higher elevation than Valley Vista is located. And if you can see, if you go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, go back one. If you can see in the distance of this image, it looks like a lake, and that's the solar project. This is a different image of the project down in southern Arizona. You can see the wind turbines that we have, which we're not doing in this project, and then in the distance there is the solar project, as pointed out here. And this is just a summary of kind of the project, which is in the information that you all already have.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, what's the proximity, what's the exposure with the proximity to homes? Is there any danger, or how do you decide how far you are away from housing?
I mean, that's never been a concern. People have solar panels on their homes. The electricity is produced at 34 kV, so the same distribution voltage that we have throughout all of Kingman. It is then collected and will be stepped up to 69 kV, which is the same backbone system that's throughout the city here.
So how close would you feel comfortable to housing?
Right next door.
Cool.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly, there is one project similar in a smaller scale in Fort Mojave, Mojave Valley area. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bernstein project it's by basically just immediately north of Boundary Cone, and they did the same thing. It's very low profile, and it does not have much of an impact.
Well, look
there's
at
one
our
here.
schools.
Yeah, as I
We
said,
have them
there's
right behind you,
Parking
right
lot.
next to our
City Park,
schools.
city complex that we have now, Bullhead Area Chamber of Commerce as a.
Mr. Chairman, is there any electromagnetic field involvement in the vicinity, or is it monitored, or is there any impact at all from having a field of mirrors?
So there are no mirrors as part of the project.
Okay, the solar cells then, or the
And so there's been no proven studies that demonstrate that concern. I also think it was pointed out during the Valley Vista meeting by one of the community members that actual, the physics of that is a cubed relationship. And so the energy actually exhausts itself on a cube function. So if you're a foot away, 2 feet away, 3 feet away, it's dissipating that quick.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? I have a question on, my information is about 5 years old, so you can help me with that. I know that the cost of production was significantly higher than other energy sources. Is it still the same? Is like 18 cents per watt investment, or is it changed?
No, I mean, it's great to know now that in Arizona, solar is actually the lowest cost of energy by any source of energy, traditional or otherwise.
Wow. Okay, thank you. If there is no other question, you're ready. Motion? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to
Second.
approve
For staff
for staff recommendations.
Second motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Walker and a second by Commissioner Abbott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5B.
Item 5B is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor parcel numbers 313-75039 through 313-75042 from an AR 36A agricultural residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone to an ES energy solar overlay zone to allow a solar photovoltaic energy project in the North Kingman vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. I believe the applicant already spoke, and we don't have anybody signed up. Commissioner, have any questions, or, okay, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept 5B.
Second.
The second was by Commissioner Gordon. Okay. We had a motion by Commissioner Bach and a second by Commissioner Gordon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item number 6. Thank you.
Item number 6 is an evaluation of a request to rescind and cause the property to revert from an RO, single-family residential manufactured homes prohibited zone to the previous zone of AR, agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size, for failure to meet the conditions of approval as specified in Board of Supervisor Resolution Number 2008387, which conditionally approved the rezone of assessor parcel numbers 32415, 042, and 043 in the Kingman vicinity, Mojave County, Arizona. Staff recommends that the Board of Supervisor Resolution Number 2008-387 be rescinded and the zoning revert to an AR agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size zone.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant here? Oh, the county. Okay. Do you want to speak? No, just kidding. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion we approve item number 6 to rescind the Board of Supervisor resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bach, second by Commissioner Selberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 7.
Mr. Chairman, the department sent out a revision to item number 7. We sent it by email. If you did not get it, I apologize. I will read it into the record now. Item number 7 is an evaluation of an amendment to Section 37C, projections into yards of the Mojave County zoning ordinance to allow covered patios, residential accessory structures to encroach into the rear yard. This amendment is a result of some interesting dynamics between the new setbacks and the recently adopted zoning ordinance amendment and some of the subdivisions that have CCNRs. Many of the subdivisions, particularly the ones that were developed in the mid to late 1990s, have CCNRs that basically mimicked the old ordinance, the ordinance that was in effect prior to December 2nd of 2015. And those who are building in those subdivisions have to comply with both the CCNRs and our new setbacks. And that's causing quite an interesting dynamic. In the original ordinance, we did allow projections into yards for covered patios and in fact even main structures and accessory structures. Those structures could be built as close as 10 feet from the rear property boundary, as long as 50% of the required rear yard was not covered in structures. I think the committee felt fairly safe in removing that because they thought, okay, well, you know, we're going to allow them another 5 feet of setback. But when you combined the loss of that with the fact that many of these 1990 to 2000 era subdivisions still retained the old setbacks as part of their CCNRs, it caused some issues with the actual size of structure and basically the usability of the lot. Many of those have 20-foot front setbacks. Some of them have 20-foot rear setbacks. Others have 25-foot rear setbacks. Now, when the original was written, we were having these problems with covered patios and accessory buildings. It turns out there's also some issues with the main structure. So what staff is proposing is basically to reinsert those projection into yards facets that allowed developers to cover up, cover the rear yard to a minimum of 10 feet from the property boundary, as long as that 50% of the required rear yard was not covered. So the amendment would read, the main structure, patios which are attached to or are part of the main structure, and residential accessory structures may extend or project into the required rear yard as long as a minimum of 10 feet of the rear yard is maintained from the closest structure bearing wall or post to the rear property line. This subsection applies to all residential zones, including flexible zones. I've got too many zones and zonings in there, so I need to strike zones, or excuse me, zoning. Flexible zones, and regardless of prior approvals. The projections, together with all accessory structures, shall not exceed 50% of the required rear yard. We did add the note that the subsection applies to all residential zones, including flexible zones, regardless of prior approvals to that. That clarifies an issue that we've always had with projections into yards, and will keep staff from battling with one another as we talk about, do those projections in yards apply to the special development zones that were often a feature of these same subdivisions. The special development zones often set their own setbacks, and we've always argued as to whether or not you could allow projections or not when that SD zoning is in effect. This clarifies that, yes, we will be allowing those projections into yards, if adopted as staff recommends.
Go ahead. Sorry. Right there. Just making a long story short, it's a new land use ordinance, and the commission who were involved, especially the chairman, fumbled, I guess, on this, and we didn't catch it. Both Commissioner Silberg and I would like to blame it on Commissioner Jones and Pazinel, who are not here. So these are just like minor adjustment corrections to basically the land use ordinance, and would be more compatible out there. There are some, I know that we have another project coming up also on the same thing we noticed, but it was not enough time to advertise it, but steep projects, So I think that that's something that's has to work out later. But again, anytime that there is a land use ordinance, there are some tweaking that needs to be done to make sure that would be compatible with the community and all that. But definitely, Commissioner Silberg and I, we don't want to accept any charges on that, right?
Right.
Okay. Just for your information.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could you, in layman's language, because I've dealt with CCNRs and architectural approvals with associations for 40 years, and I'm having difficulty understanding the last sentence. Maybe you can put it into footage and make sense of the patio, together with all accessory structures, that would be garages or anything else, shall not exceed 50%
Right.
of the required rear yard area.
Okay.
Chris has her hand up, maybe she's got,
Go ahead. I can explain.
sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. And that has been basically revised to say the projection, together with all accessory structures, shall not exceed 50% of the required rear yard area. Okay, I'll give you two scenarios.
Good.
Because we are getting, we experienced both of these. One of which is just an R1 subdivision, or a property zoned R1 that has 15 front, 15 rear. The required rear yard is that area that is from the boundary line in to the property 15 feet. So that 15-foot area for the entire, let's say you have a rectangle. So that 15-foot area across basically what is the backyard is your rear yard. And what that says is you can cover no more than 50% of that. So you have to leave 50% of it open. Where you would have an SD zone that specified different rear yard setbacks, and this was usually done to bring them into an alignment with the CCNRs. So as part of the CCNRs, they said, okay, your building envelope is only this area, and oh, by the way, we want our setbacks for our development to be the same. And that was frequently the only reason why they requested that SD zone. Well, let's say your setback, we're dealing with one right now that has a setback of 20 feet. So that rear yard is from the property boundary in to the property 20 feet. Same rule applies. You can cover 50% of that.
So bottom line is that it's almost impossible to go less than 50%, because as long as you have any part of your building within the 10 feet of the rear property line, and the setback is only 15, so you can only have a patio going in there maybe by 5 feet. So the 10 feet is gonna be the minimum that they have to be available for the backyard. So it is almost impossible to exceed 50%.
I'll buy you lunch.
Got it.
You can explain that and not take any more time of staff. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Clarification, 50% is different than if I had a building 100 feet
Right.
long, 50% doesn't mean I can only go 12 and a half feet into my, whatever, 25-foot setback. That means I could put a building all the way to here and be 5 foot. So 50% is different than getting to the edge of that.
Backyard area.
Yeah, we could have the whole side thing as a fence.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's fine, I just want to make that.
No, I understand. Thank you. All right. If there's any further discussion, if not,
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second the
amendment.
motion.
we have a motion by Commissioner Silberg and a second by Commissioner Abbott. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed only because I don't understand it. And I can't vote for something I don't understand, so.
I'm going to take you to
Like Kathy just said, you could put a building to all the way back to the property line, and you can't. But if it's less than 50%, you can.
No.
That's the confusion.
Mr. Buck, it does say that you have to maintain the building, the closest you can put the building to the rear property
10
line is 10 feet.
Too late for the, thing. You already put the opposed, it's on the record, and you're in trouble.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to take you to AM/PM for the lunch.
Okay.
I believe that's all we have. We have a call to the public, I believe, at this time. Is that correct? We have Sherry Miller. And I believe, Sherry, you're the one who brought us the...
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I guess we are... As you know, we are not able to answer any question. It is just basically giving you the time to speak to the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here because my name is
State
Sheree-
your name and your
My name is Sheree
address.
Miller. I reside at 3234 East Jaggerson Avenue, Kingman.
You?
I'm bringing this to your attention because one of the commission's functions is to protect the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of its citizens. I leased a residence at 3801 Northfield Avenue. There were several issues. I had a building inspector come out who tagged the building. He tagged it with a stop work order and 2 orange bright tags that stated uninhabitable by humans. Permits were, we drove by the residence, and the owner was working on the residence. Permits were issued, and they should not have been issued. My concern, I'm deathly allergic to black mold. I was treated at the ER after being in the residence for an hour, taking pictures to show the owner's wife that the house was not in mint condition. The family that lived there before me were sick for 3 years, and they didn't know what was wrong with them. The signs are now down. I tried contacting the building inspector. He told me what black mold. I provided pictures and emails and showed health concerns. And I brought it to you, I think it's very, very important. The tags are down, and there's a new family in there with young children, and that's where my concern is.
Thank you.
And that's why I'm bringing it to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mimi Myers?
Good day, everybody. I'd like to thank you. My name is Lottie Banker, and I represent Help Animals' Lives Today. We have been saving pet lives for the last 15 years. I really would like to thank everybody that is on the board to approve our kennel license for the future. Just as an example, we picked up 9 puppies yesterday from the pound. They are 2 weeks old. They were found in the landfill. I just wonder how they got there because they're too small to walk by themselves. So I thank God for the opportunity to help those that are too innocent to speak and act for themselves. And I wish you all a happy and healthy year. God bless you all. And say a prayer for these 9 babies, I beg you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess that was not Mimi. I guess, please. Now we have...
Can we tell Lottie her item was approved, her extension was approved?
I'm
She wasn't here when we voted on the
I
matter.
assume, I wasn't either, I assume it was approved.
Yeah.
Lottie, you're good to go.
I'm sorry?
You're good to go. They already approved you.
Oh, well, thank you. God bless you.
God bless you, too.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mimi Myers at 327 Chestnut Street, Kingman, Arizona. I'm here to talk to you today about ag exemptions. Railroading, mining, ranching, and agriculture have historically been among the state's largest employers. Tax breaks and other incentives are given to these qualifying businesses on the principle that they contribute to the state's economy. But there's a big difference between big business and your average property owner. Railroads obviously are commercial. Mining, Mineral Park qualifies, but a guy with a pick and an axe doesn't. Ranching is a livelihood on thousands of acres and is not the same as having some farm animals. When you think of an agricultural production, you think of Yuma, Maricopa, Mojave Valley, even roads in Golden Valley and Red Lake, but not a guy with a garden and some nut trees. There are guidelines and standards that have to be met to qualify through the assessor's office for an agricultural classification. Non-qualifying property is defined as vacant land, land used for residential purposes, land for any commercial purpose, which includes retail, nursery, for instance. You can have a wholesale, but not retail. And land used primarily for recreational purposes, such as the last stop that was before you earlier. If the commercial use is ag or ranching, an agricultural land use application along with documentation is submitted to the county assessor, who then determines whether there's a qualifying ag use. It involves a lot of record keeping and reporting, but one of the benefits of qualifying is a greatly reduced property tax. Another is ARS 11812, which states the county cannot restrict, prevent, or regulate the use or occupation of land or improvements for grazing or general ag purposes on 5 or more contiguous commercial acres. I contend that commercial acres means commercial production, not a smaller acre. In layman's terms, this means the county building permits and inspections are not required, and that the zoning ordinance does not have to be abided by, because it says code, zoning, and building codes. I assume that means the ordinance as well, which is probably why when people move a couple of RVs out on that parcel with no permits, we don't go out and inspect or say anything because they're ag exempt. There's a reason for going through the assessor's office. The assessor has an accurate record of the structures for tax purposes, and development services has an accurate plot plan for current and future development, because eventually something's going to change, either the owners or the use, and a record of what buildings are on the parcel and when they were placed and under what circumstances will matter to staff and future owners. Every county except Mojave requires the assessor classification as a prerequisite to apply, or even apply, for a development services ag exempt form. May I request more time, please?
Yes.
Thank you. The other counties required as a prerequisite to apply for the development services ag exempt from building permits. We used to require it. On what basis did that change? I don't know. It wasn't the Yuma case. Development Services' current position is that it can issue a department ag exemption, clear and separate from the assessor, without any assessor involvement. It doesn't make sense. When you consider what it means in terms of compliance with the ordinance and building code on parcels that are 5 acres, or a commercial parcel which is less than that. And why wouldn't other counties be aware of this if that is the way the program should work, without assessor involvement? None of them do. They all require the assessor classification. So what we're left with here are an application that you take out and notarize that your ag use, what it's going to be, and then you send it in the department. It's free of charge. Some of you already have it. And whether the property is vacant or there's no ag use at all, we don't know, because we don't ever look. And now, when you build a home there or you build your structures, the assessor is not taxing them. The assessor doesn't even know about it, and neither does the department. I cannot imagine that that's the way that this program is supposed to be run. There should be checks and balances, and that's why I'm here. I hope that as we move forward, I know that we had a 90-day extension. This is my first meeting. I will be back next month. Maybe in the interim, I could get on the agenda and speak more fully on this. I know that come the third meeting, there are going to be people here who do not understand what this ag exemption is. All they want are buildings with no permits, but they don't qualify. Now, I have no problem with the commissioners, the departments setting up a program that allows farmers, the regular property owners that do not have a commercial use and do not qualify for the assessor to have a separate program that allows them to put up their barn or their chicken coop or whatever they want, a chicken coop with the light in it with no permit. If that's what they want to do, that's fine, but we should not be running it under the guise of ARS 11812. I thank you very much for your attention, and I would be available to meet with any of you if you want more information. It's hard to put an entire book into a couple of minutes, so I do appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes today's meeting. Before we close the meeting, I'd like to thank Mrs. Bach for coming over. I appreciate that, and joining us today. Any further discussion?
Actually, I was just going to ask, will we have any community meetings and stuff scheduled for the AG? I know it was kind of a cat and mouse, the first one, but now that we have more understanding, and I'm reading a lot about it too, I'd like to have we have something going?
We currently have a meeting set up for the 25th for individuals that came and spoke at both the commission and the Board of Supervisors meetings to come help and enter into a discussion with staff on maybe this other ordinance that we're creating and what options we have and how we can lay that out.
Is that and what time?
It's going to be held at the Development Services Office it's by invitation only. We've only invited those individuals that came and spoke. And commissioners.
Well, I didn't
are
get my
welcome.
invitation yet, so I need one.
Okay.
Please, you can send me an
Definitely.
email on it. It'd be
Definitely.
great.
And I will get back to you on the time. I think
Yeah,
I've lost
me too.
that. I think it's about 4 o'clock, I think, was the time.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that the monitor out front needs to be refocused or replaced. This one right here, it's.
Oh, yeah,
They did that to you on purpose.
And I thought it was
I
my
need-
eyes.
I thought maybe I needed
No, it's because
glasses.
they cut us out, so now it's just these guys in again?
You guys need to go check with your eye doctor.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question that I
Mr.
probably
Abbott.
asked at the wrong time. We used to get a preliminary plot plan on lots of things that came before us. I haven't seen but one or two in the last 6 months. Has staff changed getting a preliminary plot plan included with the package? Or I'd like some clarification on that, because to me, it's very helpful in making these decisions.
Ms. Ballard?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I think the change has been more on the applicant's side than staff's side. You know, most of those plot plans were voluntarily submitted. The ordinance does allow us to ask for additional information if it is necessary to put that information in front of the commission in order for them to make a decision. We can't start asking for those, just a rough site plan. Now on special use permits, I might note that the ordinance that we now have does state that we need a site plan for your usage, and we'll be sure and obtain those in the future.
Ms. Ballard, so basically you're saying that it is not a requirement of application to submit the PM, right?
I don't believe it is on the rezone, it is on the site, the use permits.
Okay,
So we'll be making sure you get those in the future.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, anything? Yes, we can have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
You
a motion to adjourn.
Send Carl a bill for that.
Second?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion. We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Walker and a second by Commissioner Abbott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. No.